r/AskReddit by Redmond Dtes. How did somebody you know ruin their life in one day? In college, my ex's friend was pulled over for speeding. He had drugs and alcohol in his system, and when the cop reached in his truck to grab the keys, he panicked and took off, thinking the cop would let go. The cop did not let go, and was dragged for quite a ways before eventually falling to the ground and hitting his head, resulting in his death. My ex's friend was charged with capital murder and sentenced to 20 years in a Mississippi state prison. 21 years old and ruined his entire life in one night. My dad used a dirty needle while doing drugs and got HIV. In 2008 he told us he was living with AIDS because of that one day. We have helped pay for the meds or his bills, because he paid for his meds and didn't have the money, ever since. Last summer he got COVID, and when the doc was talking to my sister on the phone she asked what special treatment he would need to have due to having AIDS. His doctor of 20 years said, "What? He doesn't have AIDS. We haven't talked to him since." Edit for clarification. At the time, he said he had been living with HIV for years and that it developed into AIDS for not treating it. I was 16 and dumb. No, I didn't sit down and interrogate my father for hours to make sure he wasn't lying. How dare I not know, right? He gave permission to the doctor to speak to my sister about his medical treatment. No laws broken. The doctor clarified. It wasn't a 2-minute conversation. He had been seeing my dad as a patient for 20 years and knew his medical history. He was as upset as we were that he lied. After finding out, me and my sister confronted him and he admitted to it all. He never had HIV or AIDS. It was all a lie. Tried to kill themselves by jumping off a bridge. Survived, paralyzed from neck down. Edit, it was a female. My daughter's middle school teacher exchanged nudes with a 14-year-old on Discord across state lines. He got drunk, got in his car, drove 90 miles per hour, missed a red light, and killed my niece and 3 other people. He's been in prison since 2009 and still has 6 years to go, as he pleaded out to 4 counts of manslaughter. I distantly know somebody who tried to cross the United States-Canada border without declaring less than 10 grand in cash, which led to them searching all his stuff and finding no naughty on his computer. He's in jail. Guy I knew in uni was inebriated and decided to try and clear a very tall spiked wrought iron fence. He impaled his balls and did not get to keep them. A friend of my parents was a good family man who loved his family. One day he was playing with his toddler and was playfully tossing her on the bed. She would get back up giggling and he would toss her again. In one of the tosses he threw her a bit too far and she hit a bedpost. She lived but became bedbound, unable to even talk. Not quite vegetable but close. He went to jail on child abuse. Lost his wife, his job, and his little girl would never be the same. The guilt was so much he ended it as soon as he could. A 19-year-old guy in Sydney ate a slug for a dare. Got lungworm disease. Went into a coma for 18 months. Woke up a vegetable confined to wheelchair needing 24-hour care. Died about 10 years later. From eating a single slug. Dude several years our junior, on the fringe of the friend group, was spiraling into depression. Decided to end it with a shotgun. Didn't get the angle right. Blew his jaw and face off. Literally. It's not for nothing that I've said ever since, there are worse things than dying. A buddy from high school blew through a stop sign and hit a couple of motorcyclists, killing them both. He didn't stop to render aid and fled the scene. He was busted for vehicular manslaughter and spent 12+ years in prison. He's lucky he can work for his dad, because where he lives now is not kind to felons trying to rehabilitate. 3 guys in high school decided to speed on the back roads after practice. Lost control, driver was decapitated, passenger, who was being scouted, had severe brain damage and unable to walk, eat, etc. on his own, and the third may have walked away, but for the rest of his life will have to live with the trauma. Great bunch of guys, just heartbreaking. Worked in Seattle airport and a co-worker decided to take his own life by stealing an airplane. fly it in loops around the Pacific Northwest airspace while being chased by the Air Force until finally going nose down. Stood in the wrong place. He was stood in a bar minding his own business and a fight broke out. He caught an accidental blow to the back of the head and caught his head on a wall on the way down. He never woke up. Worked with a guy. He made his kids ice cream, drugged one bowl, then put that kid to bed. Once the other kid went to sleep, he shot and killed her. Then went to the other kid's room, the drugged one, shot and killed her. Then called up his wife, shot and killed himself on the phone with her. Fudge you, Mark. Fudge you. Middle management type man where I used to work, came into the office every other day. He was known to be a stand-up guy, good family man, even a good boss, as good as it gets when it comes to management at least. He got caught having sex with the new hire. Lost his job, his marriage, and his kids stopped talking to him. That was 2 years ago. Last news I got, he's living in a studio apartment with a mattress on the floor, and already spent half his savings on alcohol. Had a friend from high school who decided to opt out by jumping off the roof at his mom's house. He landed in such a way that he survived, but is now paralyzed from the chest down, as in, can't even breathe for himself and fully reliant on home health aides and his mom, whom he despised and named as the reason he wanted out of life. It's fair that she was a full-blown heroin addict at this point and was a crap show herself. Some kid in our senior year of high school pulled the fire alarm every day. He was getting away with it for a while. The school had town officials and the chief of the fire department and police come in and talk about the dangers. The town would send trucks and be without them if there was another emergency. None of that worked. When they offered a reward, the kid's friends ratted him out. His family had to pay for all those calls. He was expelled from school and didn't graduate. I work at a school and supposedly it's $700 for every pull. Yeah, that family must been delighted to hear that news. My dad once saw a patient who was a seemingly normal, well-adjusted family man in his early 40s with no major health issues and in good physical shape. He was in town for a business trip and had suddenly gone blind. Come to find out, while out with his colleagues, he had tried coke for the first time in his life. It was cut with something that created a blockage in his optic nerve and now he's blind forever. This caused him to lose his job. He had a wife and kids and was the sole breadwinner. Knew a guy my freshman year of college. Easily the most socially awkward person I've ever met. Not necessarily a bad guy but a really weird one. He was expelled for making a bomb threat. No idea what happened to him after that, but I can't imagine anything good. Alcohol and a three-wheeler. Alcohol and a motorcycle. Alcohol and a van full of friends. Alcohol and operating heavy machinery. Gambling. All their savings, the house, a motorbike. She walked out, eventually, got her life back. Him? Who knows? Old co-worker went to Vegas, felt really good about his odds due to the liquor and ended up betting his entire life savings on roulette and lost. He ended up losing his house, his wife, kids, and from what I've seen he lives in a tiny apartment and works a minimum wage job. That's all folks. Thank you for watching. If you like videos like this one, why not like and subscribe for more? Have a nice evening.